I never knew what it meant to sell your soul to the devil. I didn't really know what that meant. Some years had passed and nobody necessarily told me. The Lord started to reveal to me. He said, you know, it's as simple as it's me and you, no one else. I don't have to worry. My house surrounds me. I don't think that people go into this with the mindset of knowing that they are going to be sifted, but I think that there's characteristics, and I think that there's desires in our hearts that we have to allow the Lord to deliver us from. And it's not for us to act as if it's not there, because those same desires that we try to hide or try to ignore will be the same desires that come back to bite us. Like, don't ignore that, because that has the ability with years and years of being ignored. That right there, that kind of pride, that form of pride, that kind of anger, that has the ability to completely just take you away. So Jesus, it has the ability to take you away. So we don't bring people out of darkness by becoming darkness. We don't say to ourselves, in order for the people to come out of the world, I have to go join them on their side, and I end up on their side. That's what typically happens when people compromise, because that's what it's called. When people compromise in that way, they are yielding to the desires and to the palate of the people. Many people don't have a desire for God, and so because they don't have a desire for God, what the church has done is they've made the church has made God seem like he is the kind of God that will break up the food and feed it to them. But even when Jesus was here on earth, he did not do that. He did not break up the food and feed it to the people. Like, no, you're gonna eat this full steak, you're gonna eat this full, like, you're gonna eat this whole, you know, you like, I'm saying what I'm saying, you might not like what I'm saying, but this is the message for today. You know, there's not going to be a second service. There's not going to be, no, this is what it is. This is what I'm saying. Either you receive it or you don't receive it. And so there were certain people whose hearts were not inclined to, you know, still follow and still like, oh, I hear what he's saying, and I have a hunger to find out more. Everybody wasn't like that. Some people felt as if, no, he should be watering it down for us to understand. Like, why are you talking in parables? Why are you talking to us like this? Well, because this is not for everybody. And I know that the Christian mainstream media wants it to seem like God is so accessible to everyone, but it's just the truth that he's not. He makes himself accessible to those who make themselves accessible. He makes himself accessible to those who are hungry and thirsty after righteousness. He says that those that hunger and thirst, those are going to be the ones that are filled, not the ones who are lukewarm and are compromising. So what happened? So along the way, so people start off one way, but along the way they lose sight of the expectations that God has for them and the obligations that they are supposed to see through. And so along the way they stop praying, they stop reading their word, they start to focus more on self. And so in the word of God, it talks about how we talked about John, you know, he said that, and I have to decrease and God must increase. And so what typically happens and how people are led away and led astray is because they've allowed themselves to become greater, and they've minimalized God to a compartment of their life. So even though they are a Christian leader, they compartmentalize Jesus, and most of their life is directed towards self-glory and self-gain and how they can fulfill their own desires. And when you went left, when you start to focus more on your desires and how you can receive glory and how you can receive affirmation, and not that of how God can receive glory. So we have our giftings. People can sing, people can draw, people can, there's different giftings that people have, but these giftings that we have are supposed to be to glorify God and not to glorify self. And so when you see people like Kirk Franklin and Tasha Cobbs and Maverick City, when you see these Christian groups and these Christian people, when you see that they've gone astray, and you say to yourself, why is it that this person is now making music with Nicki Minaj? Why is it that this person is now, why is it that this Christian person is fellowshipping with darkness? Why is it that he's fellowshipping with darkness? Why is it that he's changing? She's changing, he's changing. Why is it that they're changing? Well, they are losing sight of the purpose of God for their lives, and they're focusing on themselves, and yeah, they're losing sight. And so the lines in their life, the lines are now becoming blurred, and they're having a hard time seeing with the eyes that God ordained them to have. And so when you compromise for the world, and when you indulge in the world in such a way, you open yourself up to the unbelief that is in the world, and you place these scales on your eyes, like Paul had scales on his eyes, and he believed that he was doing the work of the Lord, but he had scales on his eyes. So that tells us that we can think that we see and we don't see. And so that is why the Christian has to understand that their fellowship with God, like my fellowship with God, has to come first before I can go and try to minister out to others. Because if this is not coming first, if I'm neglecting this to go and do this, then that is going to take over, and I'm going to see less of God, and I'm going to see more of myself. I'm going to see less of God. I'm going to see more of myself. And so I never knew what it meant to sell your soul to the devil. I didn't really know what that meant. Some years had passed. The Lord started to reveal to me. He said, you know, it's as simple as what I said in my word. If he that loves his life and seeks to have life, he's going to lose his life. But the person who lays their life down, they are going to have life. You know, if you seek to, you know, fulfill your ambitions, and ambition isn't bad in itself. Like I said, ambition is not bad in itself, but when it's driven by lust and pride and greed, it is bad. And so God has called his people to lay our lives down. And you may say, well, the word of God also says that we're lights. So yes, the word of God says that we're lights and we are to shine, but he meant that his glory was going to shine upon us, not our own glory that we are trying to make up. He said that he's going to prepare a table in the presence of our enemies. He's going to prepare a table. We are not supposed to be trying to go and buy a table and prepare a table for ourselves. You know, he said that our gifts are going to make room for us. We are not supposed to be going and trying to make room for our own giftings. Or I have to go and I have to do this. I have to compromise over here because I'm trying to make, you know, I'm trying to get myself out there. That's not your responsibility. That's not your responsibility. And so another component of how people are led astray is they lose sight of their responsibility. They lose sight of their responsibility in the kingdom. Like no, this is, like, I've called you to do this. This is your purpose in life. I called you to do this. I called you to be this way. And you're losing sight of that because of the followers, because of the attention, because of the media, because you're now becoming more known. Every one of us has influence to a certain degree, and we are responsible for the influence that we give. We are responsible for the influence that we give. And so I don't get to dictate how my actions are going to influence the next person. That is why we are called to be holy. That is why we're called to, that's why we're called to submit to the transformation of God. Because you have people around you, just like these secular artists, they have people that look up to them. And what that does is, especially in the Christian community, you have people that are looking up to these Christian celebrities, and they are looking at them as, well, this is the standard. And people have lowered this standard, and they've made it not about God anymore. Like I said, it really just comes down to you staying focused on the Lord. You focus on God. You focus on God, and you allow, and you focus on God, and God brings the people. You don't focus on the people and expect God to support. Like, that's not how that works. Faith is not you going out doing what you want to do and then asking God to support what it is that you've already done. But faith is doing what it is that God has already told you to do. And I really love how Jesus told Simon Peter. He said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith fail not. And when you are converted, strengthen your brethren. When you are converted, then you can go and you can strengthen your brethren. When you are converted, you can go and you can strengthen your brother. What happens to the person that is led astray is forget along the way that they are supposed to be being conformed into the image of God and conformed into the mind of God, because they want to fulfill their own desires. The same desires, the same heart that the word of God says is desperately wicked. And the problem with that is that those evil and wicked desires that we have, they don't come from God, but they come from Satan. And so when we operate in that way of being, we are submitting to the devil in that way. So like I said, I didn't know what it meant to sell your soul to the devil. I didn't really know what that looked like. But it really just comes down to you giving yourself away to the wickedness of your mind, of your heart. You're giving yourself over to that. And so in the Lord, in Jesus, and in God, we are being transformed. We are being delivered from that same heart condition. We're being delivered from those mindsets. So that's how that is the distinct, that is the line. When you're living for the devil, you are taking hold on the condition. You are allowing yourself to live in that bad condition. But in the Lord, you are allowing yourself to be delivered from that bad condition. The world can't deliver you from your condition. The world can't deliver you from your condition, so it teaches you how to live in your condition. And so the people of God are supposed to be a light in that they're showing others that you don't have to stay in that condition. But when we compromise, then we are telling others there's no escape, there's no way out of that. But there is. We aren't called to be cool, but we're called to be holy. You aren't called to take on the trends, to get people to watch your videos, or take on the trends to make them feel as if you are not trying to be judgmental, or whatever the reason could be. You are light. It says in the Bible that Noah's obedience condemned the entire world. So through your acts and your acts of obedience towards God, it's going to shine a light on others, simply because it's telling them that there's a standard. It's like me walking into a dark room with a flashlight on my phone or in my hand. It brings light into the room. So you know that there's light now. Like, you know that I just walked in with this flashlight. So with when it comes to the people of God, we don't compromise for ourselves. We don't compromise for other people. We don't compromise because we're afraid of what people are gonna say, what it may make us look like. We don't do that. We don't act out of fear. That's fear. We don't operate like that. But we are called to lead the world out of darkness. Don't change your appearance. Don't change your message. Don't change how you're presenting your message. Don't change it just for other people to come in. Don't do that, because the kind of people that you are going to attract are going to be attracted simply just for that. The way that you gain them is how you're going to have to keep them. The way that you gain them is how you're going to have to keep them. You're going to have to continue to be that way. And most people get worse. And that is why they are like, that's why they end up back in the world. And so it is for you and I to be aware. The word of God says that they're going to be wolves in sheep's clothing. Yeah, they may know the scriptures like you know the scriptures. They may know how to talk to you in church language, but their hearts are far from me. That's what God said. Their hearts are far from me. They don't love me. They despise me. They despise me because I don't condone what it is that they want. Jesus has to be our everything. And it's not saying that I'm not saying that you can't struggle, and like I'm not saying that people who minister to others have to be, you have to have it all together. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you need to be submitted to the transformation of God. You need to be submitted to the transformation of God. You have to be.